After weeks and weeks, in fact months of work, I'm now finally ready to tackle a thing that has been racing through my mind, in my dreams, haunting me around every corner of the studio, the retouching of this painting and the missing face. I've taken every step to give myself the best opportunity to succeed here, but this is no easy task. And because of that, I'm not going to start with the face. I'm going to start somewhere else, somewhere that's easier, somewhere that feels more achievable. This is a technique that I've used throughout my conservation work and throughout my life, and it's one that allows me to notch an easy victory, pick some low-hanging fruit, because even though it's easy, it's still success, and it begets more success. So if I'm able to retouch the face here well, and feel that it's going well, and that my color matching is on point, and that I like how I'm working, well, then I can feel good about this painting, and I can start to move on to more difficult areas. If this isn't going well, then I know that it's not the right time to do retouching. I'll step away and find something else to do in the studio. I won't try to force my way through it. The no pain, no gain motto doesn't work here or in life. Anybody who tells you that is just misleading you. So by working on this painting and just tackling some of these little losses, I can start to feel my way through this retouching and start to get a sense of the palette that the artist used, how they applied paint, and what the painting is supposed to look like. Because remember, I'm going to have to make a lot of decisions about how much to retouch. I don't want to go too far and retouch every little mark on this painting and make it look flat and new, but I don't want to leave a significant amount of marks and make it look damaged. There's a fine balance between leaving some things like abrasions and cracks and covering them all up. And so working on an area like this allows me to test different approaches and figure out the one that I think is going to work throughout the entire painting. And then I can move on to the rest of the painting. While Kit joked that I had volunteered to do all of the retouching on this painting, she's not totally incorrect. I have included her in just about every step of the process. It's part of her learning some of these more complicated techniques and becoming a better conservator, and also me of not doing some of the stuff I don't want to do. Having an assistant is great because you get to teach them, learn from them, and give them some of the dirty work. Over the many years that Kit has worked here, she has proven to be an invaluable resource in just about every aspect of conservation, and retouching is no exception. She has an incredible sense of color and adept laying down of paint. And you can see here how she's maneuvering through this skinned area with real grace and sensitivity, not glazing in the whole area, but working through just to break up the losses so that it still feels old and authentic without feeling damaged and broken. And this is something that comes with years of experience. At least it took me years of experience. Kit has responded to this incredibly fast, so fast that I'm shocked, in fact. But it's a testament to her skill, the way she learns, and maybe how I've instructed her. No, I think it's all her. Anyhow, she's working through just to break up all of this damage. In an area like this where the entire face has lost its glazes, it's really tempting to want to repaint it. And while reglazing is not a verboten technique in some instances, like this one, we could very easily argue that because all of the glazes have been lost, and because we're using reversible paints, it makes sense that we would reglaze this painting. But if we can avoid that, then we will. Now, if ultimately we do have to do some glazing, we can add it later. But for now, Kit is doing such a good job of breaking up this damage that I don't think we're going to need to. In fact, maybe Kit should just do the whole painting. How about that? And while I'd like to have Kit just do all of the retouching and I can sit back with my feet up scrolling on the internet, that's not how it works. But I'm also really excited to challenge myself with this, to see how the inlay worked, to see if it's a viable solution. I think it's going to work, but I'm not sure, and we're going to find out as I start this retouching. Now, ultimately, the inlay and the image is really only good for the first pass of paint. I'm using paint that's a little bit thinned out, so it's a little bit transparent so that I can see through it, but you can see that once paint goes down, the under image or underpainting, as it were, disappears, and then it's up to me. So this technique isn't a panacea. It's not going to do all of the retouching for me. It's just going to get me onto, let's say, second base, give me a head start so that I don't have to start from scratch. And really, it's the form and the shape and the volume that I'm looking to capture here. I have some images of this painting set up on either side of the easel, and I'm looking at those while I'm doing the retouching to see how the highlights go, to see where the shadows are, just to have another reference. You can see that this image is also a little pixelated. It's not as high resolution as I would have preferred. So I'm working with a couple of other images that are smaller so they appear higher resolution. They're not as, broken up and blurry. And then you can see that I'm kind of inching my way towards the complicated part, starting off with the neck and then the ear and then the cheek. I'm really kind of avoiding the eyes, nose, and mouth because they're going to be really hard. And I want to, again, pick the low-hanging fruit, try to give myself the best advantage. Now, this is going to take several passes. And over the course of this retouching, I'll work a little bit, then I'll step away. Then I'll come back and do a little bit more, then I'll leave it for a day or two. And the retouching of this face took a couple of weeks, not because I wasn't moving through it with speed, but because I needed time. I needed time away to take a more analytical, brutal look at the retouching that I had laid down the day or week before, to look at it without rose-colored glasses and to say, well, that didn't work so well, so let's come back and change that chin or add a highlight here. And it's slow going. There's no easy way about it. You work a little bit, you step back, you come back, you reassess, you work a little bit more, step back, come back, reassess, so on and so forth. And what I'm trying to do is get the forest and the trees correct. And by that I mean I'm trying to get all of the little details, but I'm also trying to get the overall feel. And that's a real hard balance because I don't have the original painting. I have images, but I can't see the original. And trying to capture a feeling, that's like trying to capture lightning in a bottle. It's almost impossible. So I'm doing the best I can to work on making this face come together, but also to make it fit with this painting. Because copying the original might not be the right answer. It might fall flat. So there's a delicate balance between simply replacing what was lost and making it feel unified. And again, this is one of those things that comes with tons of experience. The first time I did retouching of this caliber, I thought it was great. It looked great. But my father told me it didn't feel right. I didn't really understand what he meant until many years later, that something can be color matched correctly. It can blend in, but it can not be in accord with the overall feel of the painting. And it's really hard to describe feeling. But you know it when you see it. Something just matches. It fits. You don't see it as an addition. You go right past the damage, and everything comes together. Not only does it get rid of the damage, but it complements the painting. And so that's kind of what I'm going for. But like I said, it's a long road, and it takes a ton of time. after a lot of passes on the face, more than I documented on video and more than I've included here. What we've seen is just the first few passes. It would have been too much to capture all of it. Really, who wants to see weeks of retouching? I know, all of you, but I don't. So this is what we got. Something stood out to me when I looked at the retouching. It felt flat, and I realized that the cracks were missing. So I had to paint them in. And I know it seems crazy, almost sacrilegious, to, on beautiful, clean retouching, paint damage. But our job as conservators is to make the damage disappear, to blend in. And so in this case, adding these cracks, painting them in, instantaneously takes an area that your eye would jump right to because it didn't fit, to one that you go right past. Now, doing it on the body was pretty simple. Doing it on the face, well, that was a whole nother level of nerve-wracking because, of course, if I mess up here, I'm going to have to do a ton of work to correct that mistake. But as I started to add these cracks, the face started to settle in. It started to feel natural. It started to belong to this painting. And the retouching didn't seem so pronounced. Now, I have a few more tricks up my sleeve with this face, but you're going to have to wait until the end to see it. And after several weeks of retouching, this painting is complete, and it's ready for its final varnish. And in this case, the final varnish is really mostly being used to protect the painting, give it an ultraviolet layer of protection, and also to control the sheen. The retouching and the first coat of resin I laid down are a little uneven. Some spots are glossier than others, and some spots are matte, and that's not what we want. We want a unified sheen on the entire painting. And so I've mixed up a varnish according to what I think is best. George trusts me implicitly and said just make it look great. And now I'm applying it with my spray gun. And I've chosen to apply it with the spray gun just because it's a big painting and I want a very thin, very even coat. And I can get this with the spray gun maybe a little bit better than I can with the brush. It's also just simpler, and I can move faster without worrying about the varnish drying. In addition, there are a couple of tricks I have up my sleeve when I'm using the spray gun that can modulate the sheen if I find that it's too shiny, like spraying from higher up and letting some of the resin dry as it settles on the surface. But in this case, everything went very, very well, and the application of the final varnish was pretty simple. So now I can let it dry and return it to George. Remind me, George, when you brought this painting in?
I think it was August of last year.
Yeah, right. So
August of fall now.
We're approaching a year.
Almost.
We had some delays and setbacks, but suffice to say, this was quite a project to undertake. And I remember asking you in the beginning, what prompted you, what streak of insanity drove you to buy a painting in this condition without the face? And I think you had said something about, what did you say, that there was something in it that needed to be released?
There's something that needs to be released that needs to be let go. There's a lot of story in it. There's a lot of history in it, and it's really cool. I wanted to figure out why she was being taken out of the cave or where she was at and which direction she was looking at, and I figured you'd be the person to do it.
Well, yeah. So it was a ton of work, but you knew that, we knew that. We had a couple of assists along the way, and I'll tell you about those in a minute. But I'm presuming you want to see the painting.
Oh God, yes.
And not the piece of canvas anymore, huh?
Not anymore, no.
All right.
I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Well, let's see it.
Wow.
A little bit of a change.
Yeah, just a little. It's the face pops out a lot more than I thought. I have to say, out of all the ones that you have done, this is most impressive.
Thank you.
This is astounding for what you had to work with, because it was just in such a bad shape. I'm usually not one for no words, but this is just, I'm astounded on how well it turned out.
No face to no words, huh?
Pretty much. It's just, I mean, the expression is perfect.
Yeah.
You can see the anguish and the agony in her face, and the faces here on the left where they're trying to struggle to get her from him. Like, honestly, I know there was a lot to do. I just cannot remember how bad. I would love to look at the photo and compare it to that, because it's just...
Holy cow. Right, well, so that's what we started with.
Yeah. Yeah, there was that big tear there. I remember it went across the whole
The whole
entire
painting
thing.
was torn in half. This went all the way through. It was really in 4 or 5 pieces. All of this was disintegrated. I mean, it was just, my God.
I mean, every bit of it was...
Honestly, I don't know what possessed us to say yes to this.
I just knew it had to be given another chance. It was it wasn't worth someone just disposing of, and it had to be saved.
You had a feeling. I thought you were kind of crazy.
I've been crazy,
but
on some of my purchases, but yeah, this one definitely not.
This was something.
How did you figure out what to do with her missing face?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think back when we first saw it, we talked about all of the problems that it had and how those were challenges, but kind of rote for us. We've done that many times before, for you too. But the elephant in the room was the missing face. And I think I teased that I had a couple of ideas.
Yes, you did, yeah.
We were able to reach out to the Hermitage in Russia, who has the original, and they pulled it from storage because it's not on display for me. And they took some photographs of the piece, some medium resolution photographs, and they sent them to me, which was really, really kind of awesome that they were willing to do that. And then we took that and we printed it onto a piece of canvas in archival ink, and then inlaid that canvas into the void. And it took a lot of manipulation on the computer to get the color, to get the shape, because it didn't fit perfectly. It wasn't like a matching puzzle piece. But we wanted to use the original as the basis for starting so that I wouldn't be led astray, so that I had something to work from.
So in comparison, this to the original that's in the Hermitage, it's true to the form.
It is. This is a copy of the one that's original. So the artist took liberties, and I overlaid the original on top of this one, and slight things are in different perspective. The faces are a little different, but this, as it is now, is a faithful homage to the original that's in the Hermitage.
Perfect. That was the goal, is get back to the way it was supposed to be.
Right.
From its original creation.
Right.
To be enjoyed for many, many more years to come.
Well, not here. I want you to get this thing out.
Yes, very much
Sick of looking at it.
It was amazing. It was something that we've been looking forward to for a very long time. And when the curtain was kind of dropped, it was worth the wait. Definitely worth the wait. Very impressed. Hopefully that after I'm gone, many more people can enjoy it. That was the whole point behind art. It's meant to be shared and seen by others. When I'm looking for art to either save or collect and add to the collection, that little voice in my head always says, is this something that Julian can fix? Face or no face or missing half the canvas, this is definitely something Julian can fix. What do you think?
I did good.
I think she agrees.